a rough day for the haters. It is a rough day for the haters. That's right. What's happening, everybody? I mean, I told you not to worry. Everybody getting worked up. This is going to happen. That's going to happen. He was always coming here, and he's going to be amazing. But I have to check on my partner, who has been the biggest Jet hater of them all.
Why are you lumping me in with the haterade? I'm the biggest keeping it realer, even though it's not a word, in the history of Jet fandom. I'm not even a fan. I'm just keeping it real for the Jet fans out there. But I will tell you this, BT.
Yes.
Because we've seen a lot of quarterback movement. We've seen a lot of movement, trades, free agents, etc. This Aaron Rodgers signing or trade, acquisition, the best way to put it out there. This Aaron Rodgers acquisition is the greatest, biggest all-in move in the history of the NFL, BT. We've seen other teams.
It's a big statement. Say that again.
This is the biggest, greatest all-in move in the history of the NFL.
Okay, keep going.
First of all, there's not a long history of trade. You just never see it in the NFL. But you have seen movement, and it's usually free agents, guys that passed their prime. Yes, I know that, sometimes you see guys move at the end of their careers. They've got a lot of, I don't know, Joe Montana.
Ronnie Lott played for the Jets for a year.
Joe Montana going to the Kansas City Chiefs. It was good, but it was, all right, whatever happens in Kansas City happens. We saw Tom Brady do something like this.
Yep.
Tampa didn't have an expectation. If he would have gone down there and stunk for 2 years, we would have been like, yeah, it's Tampa. Doesn't matter. Peyton Manning, even though he was a shell of himself when he went to Denver, that was an all-in move. But nobody, could he still even play? Could he throw the ball 15 yards downfield? We didn't know. They won because their defense was really good. You had Russ Wilson last year to the Denver Broncos. You had Favre earlier with the New York Jets and then the Minnesota Vikings. Kurt Warner. There's a ton of examples. But there has not been one that has this level of expectation, this level of import to people's jobs, including the head coach, Robert Saleh, and the general manager, and Joe Douglas. This is truly one of the greatest, and I think the greatest all-in move that we've seen in a long time. And I give Joe Douglas credit here, BT, because the only way he's able to do this is because of free agency and the draft from the last 2 years. If he didn't have these wins with...
Oh, you mean the infusion of new talent to make the roster?
If he didn't have those previous wins, right, with Garrett Wilson
and Sauce and AVT,
and all these guys they brought in at free agency and in the draft, I'd say this is doomed to fail.
I don't even think they would do it at this point because they would be so far away from a championship it wouldn't be worth it. Okay,
this feels all in a great way for Jet fans. Okay. I'm not saying this with any kind of hate or I'm just saying.
Just got to change. You never know with Tiki the Jet saying it. Never know.
This is a full all-in move, and there comes risks that comes with that, obviously. But I think it's one of the greatest we've ever seen in NFL history.
Oh, okay. First of all, you're hearing the Jets got fleeced, Jets got robbed, Douglas got played. Get lost. Can I just put I got to give you a number here. So, in my life, I'm not going to go through the names. It'll take forever. I have watched 36 starting quarterbacks in my life. And our buddy Benengo's watched a lot more. Now, at least he saw a championship. I have seen 36.
Wow, you barely been alive that many
starting quarterbacks play for the Jets. Now, by comparison, the Jets, the Giants have like 12 or 13. Obviously, Phil played a lot. And, of course, Eli was a rock basically for 2 decades. The Packers have had like 5 or 6. And we know the 2 big ones. You throw in Majikowski, you throw in Jordan Love, and 1 or 2 other guys, and that's it. So I'm ready to just watch greatness. Like, I've been telling you for years, like, I sit down, and I'm not alone. I watch the Jets, and then I watch the NFL. Because the Jets' offense has been so antiquated. It's been without reward. I mean, you try to scrounge up seemingly 17, 18, 19, 20 points for the last decade. It's brutal. So, of course you do this. And again, Joe got fleeced. I don't understand some people. Now, again, some people are just born with the disposition. They want to be contrarians. That's all right. You want to debate, want to argue, want to throw a little haterade out there. That's fine. Now, you're not wrong when you say that it's the greatest all-in move in the history of the NFL. I'll co-sign that statement. And I know that you don't say that and lace it with negativity. Some will though. But
I'm saying there is risk.
Of course there's risk. I'm not going to refute that. There's no doubt there's risk. He's 39 years old. Of course there's risk.
But this is all in, man. We are doing it to win it.
Yes, but generally to me, while you're not saying this, all in has a negative connotation. Like to me, all in would be like, all right, let's get this 33-year-old NBA superstar and give up, 7 first-round picks and a core of young kids and try to win it 1 year. And if it doesn't happen, we're in the lottery. Like it's penthouse or outhouse. Here's why it's worth every penny. It's worth everything they gave the Packers. They did not get fleeced. They did not give up too much because it's an all-in move, but it's an all-in move that will not negatively impact the greater part of a decade. And that's where I've got to make sure we get clear and distinct separation. Let's say Aaron Rodgers bombs, which he won't. He's going to be phenomenal. Let's say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. That's possible. Let's say Aaron Rodgers, after a year, says, I'm out. I don't think that's the case based on the rework contract, but you never know with him. You really never, or with anybody. Year to year, fine. 1 year, Jets don't win. What did they sacrifice? What did they really sacrifice? 2 slots in this year's draft. Big damn deal. A second-round pick that they had an extra one of based on a good trade by the general manager. And then, all right, if he gets hurt, they don't get the first-round pick because he's not playing 65%. And if he does play 65% of the snaps, the Jets are the biggest story in the NFL and one of the biggest stories in sport. I love it.
Yeah, well, look, at the end of the day, I think that this team believes that they can win a Super Bowl. And the only thing that was holding them back was a quarterback who could rise to the occasion. Now, could that eventually be Zach Wilson? Maybe. I have no idea. Truly have no idea. But the way they can get there in the short term is by going all in. Sometimes you talk about all in having a negative connotation, BT. When I think all in, you immediately turn to cards, playing poker, right? You're staring at your cards, whether it's hold 'em or whatever. You're just staring at your cards. You put them down. You're like, I'm all in. And sometimes you do that because you're desperate,
or you're tired. You're like, I just got to get out of
whatever.
here.
You're desperate.
I got to go to bed.
That was that. I shouldn't have had that last whiskey, right? Yeah. But I'm all in. It feels desperate. The only way I'm getting back into this game is if I go all in.
That's true,
right? That's one way to go all in. The other way to go all in is if you say, look at your cards and you're like, see what I got? I got aces. I'm good.
I have pocket aces.
I got all aces
Let's
right
go.
here, right? So I'm all in. Poker face on. Because you know you're confident that what you're going all in on is going to win.
It's not sloppy. It's not hasty. It's not directionless. Yes. It's rooted in the reality of the roster.
And because of what Joe Douglas did in the draft last year, what he did in free agency, where he has a top 5 offense, he has skilled position players, one of whom won the Rookie of the Year, and another one who could have been in that conversation if he hadn't got hurt, Breece Hall. If he comes back, there's talent all around him. Yes, they moved back 2 slots in the trade with the Packers to go from 13 to 15. Oh, yeah, the draft is in 2 days, by the way, peeps.
I know.
To go back to 13 to 15. Guess what? They're taking alignment anyway.
That's right.
So who cares who's there?
That's right.
So the reason.
By the way, I wouldn't even be surprised if they somehow go from 15 and drop back a little bit, still get alignment because that's what Joe Douglas does, and get back some kind of a pick maybe.
That's right.
That wouldn't surprise me.
They're all in. But they're all in with confidence.
That's right.
There's a couple of ways to be in. There's a couple of ways to be all in.
But also sensibility. Like you can be confident, but the sensibility's lacking because you may be overly confident, which blurs the lines of sensibility. This is a
reason. Yeah, right.
Or reason or logic. There's no doubt. This is a very sensible move. And I mean, listen, I don't know what to do with myself. Rodgers is here to save the Jets. Patino's here to save St. John's. The Knicks are in the early stages of shocking the world. By the way, the Heat won.
I know.
I mean, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we laid out this scenario a couple weeks ago.
I don't know what to do with myself here.
We laid this scenario out a couple weeks ago. It might actually happen.
Although it's being offset by this pathetic, putrid Yankees offense that Cashman constructed. Brian Cashman is that.
Stop the negativity. Stop the negativity.
I'm pumped. Listen, this is the kind of move that, maybe gets thrown on our doorstep, no matter what team you root for, maybe once in your lifetime. You can tell me he's a little wacky, he's a little weird, he's a little different. That's fine. I don't care. Uniqueness is fine with me. Just come and ball. Originality is fine. Just show up and slay the Bills and the Dolphins and the Pats and the Chiefs who are playing this year and put this team in a position to finally move the needle. It's awesome. I'm pumped. I don't know. Listen, we're going to get to these calls. We will, well, of course, we're going to take the calls and you have your opinions. And if you disagree, that's fine. I don't know, honestly, unless you are just married to misery, how you could be a Jets fan today and not pumped, not happy, ecstatic. I don't know. That is beyond my ability to process. I just don't know because I'm ecstatic, and I think most of you are. 877-337-6666. So there you go. It's confirmed. Jets going to the Super Bowl. We're inside of our Town Fair Tire studio. Our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guarantee lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. All right, Teak, you ready to plow through this?
Let's do it.
Let's get it. Jimmy's on Long Island. First up on the fan. What up, Jim?
Hey, what's up, guys? I got to tell you, man, psyched to have Aaron coming. Tiki, I love you. Always a great player. I'm a big Jets fan, not a big Giants fan. But I appreciate you trying to be objective about Aaron Rodgers, but I know you're not a lover of the Jets, and you can hear it.
Hey man, I live in Florham Park, Jim. I mean, that's my familia over there, right?
I don't care where you live, you're a Giant. But let me say this, Brandon. I got to tell you, man, you're right on, spot on. I wouldn't have wanted to give up what we had to give up, but we didn't give up that much. We have a shot now at a Super Bowl. A shot. That's what we have.
Yes.
And getting Rodgers, this fell into our lap. Here was a guy who wasn't wanted by his team. It turns out he wanted to continue to play. And we were the type of team that he could come to and have a chance to win. So now we've got him. I can go sit in the seats at MetLife and watch real football, like you said.
Yeah.
So this is what's really going on. Super Bowls, please. I mean, you got a bunch of talent. You got Burrows. You got Mahomes. You got a bunch of guys we got to get through.
Yep.
But now we can, and with the Jets defense, we have a shot at watching greatness because this is, like you said, this is a once-in-a-lifetime type of quarterback who's coming to the Jets who can put the ball in there. You know, he had an injury last year, but this is a different kind of guy. So, I mean, all in on this, and I think we could move up in the draft and maybe get that lineman from Northwest.
Skowronek.
Yeah. Northwestern,
Yep.
So I want to see what you guys are talking about.
Good call, Jay.
Thank you.
Now we got to get Quinnen signed, and we got to get this lineman.
Listen, there's still things coming. Thanks for the call. I mean, maybe Corey Davis is dealt. I mean, there's other things coming. But go ahead, Teague. I know you want to jump in on something.
Think about all that needed to happen for this to happen, for Aaron Rodgers to be a New York Jet. So we all remember last year, Nathaniel Hackett got the head coaching job in Denver. The thought was that he was going to bring a disgruntled, not yet paid Aaron Rodgers to the Broncos. And clearly the Broncos are willing to give out big contracts because as soon as they got Russell Wilson, they gave him $40-something million a year, high $40-something million a year. But Nathaniel Hackett was the crux to bringing Aaron Rodgers to Denver. Didn't happen. He signed a long-term extension. He's stuck. They subsequently trade for Russell Wilson, who was a disaster with his own office, which he never left. They talk about the him up there and what went wrong. A lot of it was because Russ was not the right kind of teammate up there. That's neither here nor there. But because of that, Nathaniel Hackett, who had just signed a deal, he was there for a year, gets fired. And because of a relationship or the idea that the Jets had, Joe Douglas, Robert Saleh, we're going to move on from Mike LaFleur, who's going into his third season, going to pay him out, let him go do whatever he's going to do. And Nathaniel Hackett all of a sudden is available, who's a very good offensive coordinator. We know this. We saw him in Jacksonville. We saw him what he did in Green Bay in those 3 years, 2 of which were MVPs for Aaron Rodgers. And now this Aaron Rodgers thing's coming to a head again. and Nathaniel Hackett is free. He signs with the Jets as the offensive coordinator, and that whole scenario, which happened literally a year ago to bring Aaron Rodgers off of Green Bay, is now happening for the Jets.
You
Think
forgot
about
one key,
all,
but you
all
forgot
of that
you forgot one key component.
What's that?
Zach Wilson had a bust.
That's a great point.
You had to take somebody number 2. He had to colossally fail.
Yes.
Then you had to have a head coach who has a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers get fired after 1 year, which is not, not without precedent, but it's still fairly rare.
It is very rare.
And then you had to have a 4-time MVP say, I'm good with Lambeau, among, if not the most fabled venues in all the sport, and say, I want to come to this team, the biggest laughing stock in all the sport.
Yeah, a lot had to happen.
A lot had to happen. And
lot.
I never flinched once, Jet hater.
Yeah, you did.
That's
I'm not
right.
a Jet hater. Just a realist, man.
Yeah, realist, keeping it real. Why don't you keep these real when we smack the Giants in your house? Roger's going to light it up. By the way, I saw Connor Hughes put this out. So once the $58.3 million converts to the signing bonus, that will then create $43.7 million of cap space.
Yeah.
And just proves again that it's what the cap space is.
It's fungible.
It's fungible.
It's just no different than the deal that we saw. Who signed a long-term deal? Odell Beckham Jr.
Yep.
$15 million.
Yep.
It's basically, all right, we're going to make a tiny cap hit. What's it, $15 million this year?
For Rodgers or for Beckham?
For
Beckham is
for
15. Rodgers is 15.7. I was going to say the 23 cap hits 15.7. It could go lower, by the way.
Beckham's is 4. Right?
Yeah, that's right. It's really
it's tiny.
low. Yeah.
So you sign a deal, you just extend it out 4 years. If he plays 4 years, who cares? It's just for cap accounting purposes. You kick the cap hit down the line. The cap is fungible. Don't ever believe it. It's real money.
Yep.
Right? Rudy Johnson's got to pay out a lot of cash right now. He's got to put it in escrow.
Now Woody can tweet whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Now I'll be laughing instead of being annoyed.
The cap is fungible, and is evidenced by the fact that the Packers did this deal before June 1, which has shocked me.
Yep.
Because they're just taking a $40 million hit.
And think about all the other. And listen, I understood, even though I was never once alarmed that Rodgers was. I mean, I've been on this train since February. All right, and it's not about being right or wrong. It's just about
being hopeful. That's what it was.
Well, it was also rooted in.
You needed it. You needed Aaron Rodgers.
That's true. That's true.
Jet.
But it was also rooted in my belief, my conviction that Joe Douglas, and I said this from day one, once we started to really have serious conversations about this, right? I said, guys, you cannot tell me that Joe Douglas doesn't have some level of intel to bypass other potential options at quarterback, okay? Whether it was Derek Carr, whatever. I never thought once the Jets were going to be at the altar without somebody to marry. And I always thought that it was going to be Rodgers. I just, Joe, geez, I'm crazy today. Joe Douglas is too well connected within the NFL universe based on the franchises he worked in, the contacts he has around the league. That guy was not getting left without a quarterback. Wasn't happening, was never happening. He was never giving up a first-round pick, meaning, yes, you take 13 and we get nothing. And here we go. And now the fun starts, and now Rodgers has to deliver.
Sure helps when you have Nathaniel Hackett sitting in your office.
That doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. By the way, he's looking for a home in Tiki's neighborhood. It's, any luck there, buddy?
It's getting there.
It's getting there?
We'll see.
Oh, dude, if he moves in down the street, I'm going to be at that guy's house. So we'll be banging back whiskey all day. I'm going to be drawing up plays for him. Hey, try this. 877-337-6666. So certainly a day to revel. It is not every day or every year, every decade that one of the all-time great players in any sport gets brought to our city. It comes with a little bit of risk. He's not a kid, but you got to be pumped. And we certainly are. Tiki and Tierney on the Fan.